They say the sky is the limit. But for today's guest, the sky was just her first office.
When I stepped into the cockpit, it just felt that this is it.
From landing transport aircraft on the world's most dangerous runways
Paro tested everything, all the knowledge, all the perception, all the handling of the aircraft.
to investigating the wreckage of military accidents to find the truth.
I was so shattered. They screened me out, and then it became target that I want this.
And now, simulating life on Mars as an analog astronaut,
People used to go for smoke. I used to run away to ISRO.
she has spent her life owning spaces where women were often told they did not belong.
I am on Earth. I have water. I have air. I have everything. I want to go to Mars and come back to Earth. I started missing my daughter's voice. Mama, Mama. Every time she
Oh.
says no.
She's a veteran, a former Amazonian, a mother, and the CEO of New Horizons Space. From firefighting in the aircraft space to firefighting at Amazon,
Every Amazonian can be a very good entrepreneur.
more than all these titles, she is a woman who lives by the motto less noise, more work.
The blues can go out of you, but you never come out of it. Your blood becomes blue.
Welcome to the Shio Effect, Wing Commander Jaya Thare.
Thank you for having me here.
You said during your school days, being an Air Force pilot was out of your league. I'm curious, when did you feel that, okay, I have to stop asking permission? This is something I have to build it out for myself. What was that exact moment?
Though my father was in Air Force, he was a radiologist. So our childhood went from one hospital to another. He was in the Air Force, but aircrafts were not in my life. It's more on hospitals to hospital. Then what happened when we moved to our own home? It was like because of some planning issues or whatever, it was an unfinished house, just a roof, and we just shifted me, my brother, and mom, dad. So the terrace of the house was our play zone. Okay. So we used to play a lot. My brother is younger to me, and we used to play whole day while mom and dad were busy with all the other chores. One day we saw a aircraft very flying very low to on us,
Okay.
right? And we were like, what is this happening? And because my brother was small, so I keep on teasing him. So I said, what is happening? Let's run, rush, run. And we ran and get inside the table. And then we were like surprised that why this aircraft, and it is a huge aircraft. That time we didn't know what kind of aircraft, but now it is like IL-76. So IL-76 is a huge aircraft from the Indian Air Force. So when it comes, all your windows and doors start shaking, and it was very low. And when my father saw that, he said, "What's happening? Why are you running? Both of you running here and there?" So he told us that our house was very close to a airport.
Mm,
That is Chakeri Airport in
mm,
Kanpur.
mm.
And then it became, it was like a delight. Our own ATC on the terrace, and we used to watch aircrafts every day, and
Amazing.
wave to the pilots, and this was our everyday thing for us. And while waving, it started with identifying that what kind of aircraft, small aircraft, big aircraft. Then it started with Air Force aircraft, civil aircraft. Then it became on what kind of transport aircraft, fighter aircraft. So that is how we evolved. Then I joined NCC because of the love of the uniform. Because NCC cadets are like
Yeah,
nicely dressed up
absolutely.
and and with the beret.
Yeah.
So I used to admire them. There was a lot of people around me who were in the NCC, and hence I joined. I joined the Air NCC, 3 UP Air NCC. And one day, while we are having the classes, the commanding officer came and said, "Who all want a joyride?" at least 10. I think almost all of us, like, I want. So I clearly, remember that I was fifth in sequence
Mm-hmm.
when we went for the joyride. And that time it was a glider. Glider is a non-powered aircraft. It doesn't have an engine. So it is pulled by a winch, set into the air, and then it does a circuit and come back. And that was it. But when I stepped into the cockpit, it just felt that this is it. That
Ah,
eureka moment, that,
my
oh
God.
my God, this is where I belong. And
You felt at
from
home somewhere.
yes, yes. And that was the first time I was entering into any kind of aircraft. I never went because, 20 years back, going into the aircraft or traveling like this, it was not common. So that was my first experience. When we went into the air, he asked me to, try a few turns here and there. Instructors have that instinct that who can do it, who cannot. So he told that, okay, you have some hang of it. So let me train you.
Mm.
And that is how I came into the gliding section of NCC. So gliding then became, once I was selected, there were few more cadets, and once I was selected, it became a regular affair to fly.
Mm.
You know how it evolves. And every day, initially, it was a joyride when you see your city from above with no borders, no, all the chaos is not there. And then it went into checklist and preparing for that, and how well you land, how well you handle the aircraft. So that was a big exposure for me. From there, we participated in Vayusainik camp. It is an all India camp. I came second in that.
Oh, wow.
So it was like a surprise for myself. I never thought that I can do it, but someone else put that kind of confidence in you, train you, and then you perform.
Mm.
That's how it happened. And then I wanted to fly more. I applied for SSB. SSB is the Service Selection Board for Air Force, to come into the Air Force. So I got screened out there because there's a group discussion
Oh,
which happens for the
okay.
screening. So there are a lot of students who come in for all the defense aspirants. So during this discussion, I was like, again, oh my God, what is happening? And then they said, okay, thank you. I was so shattered. I said, they screened me out. I was flying for so long in NCC, and then it became like target that I want this.
Ah.
And then I started preparing for it because earlier it was I just went like ho jayega.
Mm-hmm.
So when I prepared for
What
it,
was important at that point for you to get selected?
see, I'm coming from UP. So UP, even now, I would say that people are very underconfident about their communication.
Mm.
Very underconfident. It's Hindi. Hindi is the language. English, people say. It happens in a group, but people still struggle even after so many years.
Mm.
So that was one thing. The second, I think, about one is about yourself, your personality, but how you structure it well. When I go for an interview, I may have n number of things to say, but what is required, is it coming out of my mouth or not?
Excellent.
So
So you're saying the clarity in thought, clarity
yes,
in communication,
yes.
that
So
was
all these
important.
things came together. Whereas your personality, your main personality traits, it comes out well when you are put into situations. So I am a action led person. You ask me for planning, so I will plan it out. But when I'm into action, I will do many other things. So SSB is all about action. It's There are many people who come with a lot of planning but are not able to go through just because that thing required something else. So that is how it happens. So my first SSB like a washout. Then I prepared. Then came the Army SSB. So
Mm.
all three military, like Army, Navy, Air Force, if you want to go into them, you have to go through SSB.
Okay.
And SSB is same for everyone, the same pattern, the GTO, the psychological test and interviews. So I went for Army. I said, let's try it out because it is coming. The date was earlier. I gave the Army SSB and I got selected. But again, that flying, it kept coming back to me. No, I have to fly. I have to fly. Then again came the Air Force SSB. I again went for Air Force SSB and I got selected.
Recently, I had a conversation with one of the pilots in the airport, and they were saying that women pilots have increased, right? Women being in that space has increased.
Yes.
And I'm sure there are many who are aspiring too. If you were to give top three advice to them on, preparing and getting selected, what would it be?
I think first is the mindset.
Mm.
Pilot's mindset is something which is required even before you step into the cockpit. It's about handling day-to-day things which with clarity, with a lot of structure in your mind that if I give you a problem, how are you going to solve it?
Mm.
Pilots are very, very decisive. And when you fly, the time is very less to decide. In seconds, you have to analyze. You have to first of all identify. You analyze what is happening. Then you see around what is your situational awareness at that time. How are you structuring that problem? Is there any one solution or there are multiple solutions? So in seconds, you are kind of your mind is like juggling between all these thoughts. And it's when in air, it is not just sitting and thinking. You are in air, you are moving, and you are deciding, and one judgment of yours can take your life.
Yeah,
That is
true.
the stakes. So it's very important that you have that kind of habit of problem solving, critical analysis, data based, plus where you are. It's all about situational awareness. Where are you, what are the resources, what can you use, what you cannot use. So all these things. And third, I think, is resilience, because in a pilot's life, resilience is very, very, very important. So these are my
Top
yeah,
advice.
top advisors to the
I'm
people.
sure it'll be very valuable. So when you speak about high stakes, um, landing in the Paro airport, that
Yes.
was a high stake dance with death, right? So when you're sitting in the cockpit, you have to allow the pilot in you to take over that fear,
Yeah.
right? And how easy is that?
How easy or how hard is that?
Now, I would ask how easy is that for you because
Yes.
you have done it well.
Yes. So before going into Paro, Paro is a airfield in Bhutan,
Yeah.
right? And it is surrounded by mountains. So just going by the geography of it, because it's important to understand when we fly in mountains, its elevation is around 7,400 feet, and it is surrounded by mountains, the Himalayan range, about 18,000 feet. So it doesn't have that kind of ILS to land or the instrument approach. You have to be visible. It's a visible approach. So a visual approach, you have to have everything on par with the surrounding. What is where? You have to be very thorough with the map. You have to be very, very thorough with the changing weather, because when you fly in
Yeah.
mountains, the weather changes very fast. And even a cloud which covers the airfield, it will not let you land. So these are a few things about the airfield. Yeah. And then you are flying in valley. You are flying with very, very tight turns. So these are some geographical things. But one more thing is that, like, when you fly in high altitude, the air density is less. So your engines, kind of, the performance is very different.
Oh.
Like when you are going in a car, you just open the engine, and it doesn't behave the way it should, right? So that happens when you fly in high altitude, that you open power and that it takes some time to come back. So all these things together makes it more difficult. So there are very, very elite pilots. I would say very few pilots who are kind of allowed to land or clear to land on this airfield.
Okay.
And when I went to Paro, I was, I think, 10 years of service, 10 plus years of service. So I've landed in tabletop runways like Shimla, like Mangalore, landed in ALGs, which is advanced landing ground, short runways where you have to, stop the aircraft in very less distance. But Paro tested everything,
Ah.
right? all the knowledge, all the perception, all the handling of the aircraft. And I should say thanks to my instructor who was sitting beside me, because when the solo happens, when you are finally going into land to the runway, what happens is the instructor doesn't touch the controls. Whatever you do, he will not touch the controls. He will not give you any inputs. So I think I should thank him for trusting me that she will land.
Yeah.
Right? So I still thank him, that thank you for taking me to Paro, because that was the test of everything I have learned in flying.
Wow. Nice. So when we went to Bhutan as a family, we did a holiday to Bhutan, and when we were about to land, they made an announcement that how dangerous this is and how it is difficult to navigate it, and how the pilot is going to do it. And once we crossed that and went into the landing, everybody clapped.
Yes.
Little did I realize that, oh, we have taken a flight like this, and now hearing it from you, I understand the pilot's version of it.
Yes.
It's really
It's difficult, and one more obstacle is there. Most of the time we align to the runway from very far. We control the speeds and everything to land. But in Paro, again, there is a hill kind of structure. I would say not very high, but it avoids that straight in approach. So you have to go on an angle,
Yeah,
and
they
then
told
come
us.
back
Yeah.
on the angle. And then there's very short distance of straight in approach. That again adds to the complexity of it.
That's so beautiful. Just as I speak to you, it strikes me that, you know, yeah, an animal might know, or the people in the organization might know that you are a male or a female, but an aircraft doesn't know, nor does the organization, right? An entity doesn't know whether you're a male or a female.
Yes.
It's only a skill, competency, confidence that you
True.
bring, that
Yes.
leadership you bring.
Yes.
And then from firefighting in the aircraft space to firefighting at Amazon, the stakes are again different, right? Here we are talking about lives, and there we are talking about projects, deliverables, KPIs.
Yes.
How did you find that shift?
First of all, going for that shift was a big yes or no for me. It's a big, decision, because you will not see many pilots doing that. So taking that decision to come out of cockpit and doing something like this itself is experimenting
Yeah,
with
absolutely.
career,
Yeah.
with yourself. And I was at that stage. My daughter was just 5 years old when this time came of decision. My husband is also a pilot, so both of us were in air most of the time. And when I decided to retire from the Air Force, I was very clear that I don't want to fly anymore. I was flying in NCC, I was flying in Air Force, and somewhere I knew the quality of flying I got in military or in the Air Force, it is not going to happen in the civil world. So I just wanted to retire at the high of it. So I took a retirement, and I went on to IIM Indore. I did my PRC, which is a pre-release course. Most of the defense officers do that. So I was doing that when I was picked up by Amazon. Amazon, again, you are from Amazon,
Yeah.
so you know
Ex Amazonians here.
how it happens. But I would say it was a roller coaster ride, but I loved it. When I came into Amazon, or when I decided, I had two, three things in mind, like what I wanted from life. You have to be clear in what you want. So at that point of time, I wanted to know more people, because, I was confined. I was feeling confined in the cockpit with the same people. You're getting posted. You're meeting the same kind of people, same kind of intellect. You are meeting same families. So what I wanted to experiment is with people. Let's see what the other side of the world is doing. So this was one. The second I wanted is about an upgrade on tech, I would say. I was into the cockpit for long, and kind of, untouched by any other technology. So I was interested in the technology, that what's happening outside, let's see. And the third thing I wanted to experiment is with myself. That
Once again.
how do I take it? Whether I will be able to survive there or not. There are a lot many questions, because the only skill I have at that point of time is flying. And flying, where do you flying on ground? How your skills are going to transform into the leadership?
Yeah.
But as I started my journey, um, I was taken aback by the leadership principles. I loved it, totally loved it, because all the leadership principles, earn trust, ownership, this and that thing, big. I felt that okay, this is words into what I am. We have lived by all these principles in the Air Force or in the military services. All of us are same. And when I saw that, it kind of again ignited that let's see what's inside. Within a year or so, I realized that this is not something I'm going to do all my life. So I took it as a transition. Very, very, transparent with you. I took it as a transition. Okay, let's see where it goes, what I'm learning and what I'm giving back. And how transitions happen, a very surprising fact. When I was coming out of the Air Force, even when I was in the Air Force, this Gaganyaan mission started.
Okay.
Right? And you see that, four pilots from the Indian Air Force were selected. So this started at that time. And then I lost track. I was like, okay, okay, things. I was following a little bit, but not very much into it. But in Amazon, my office was just 15 minutes drive from ISRO, where
Sis.
these test pilots were getting trained. See how these things
I
happen.
know.
So whenever I used to get like overwhelmed about what is this happening, what am I doing, and it happens everywhere. So people used to go for smoke. I used to run away to ISRO
Oh,
just for 15 minutes because
wonderful.
and I used to talk and they used to tell me कि अभी ये हो रहा है वो हो रहा है we are getting trained like this. So I saw their journey from very very close. And whenever I met them, I again felt that kind of pull that this is my space. This is where I belong, right? Though you can do a number of work or, career is different part of it. But again, the belongingness, like I had, in the cockpit, the first time I went into the cockpit.
Yes.
So this continued for a year. And then again, I felt that pull that, okay, I
Oh,
have
I
to.
need to go back home.
Yes. And that is how I established New Horizons Space. So, New Horizons Space was born in Bangalore just to explore space because I felt that it is very close to my heart. And this is a very organic extension to who I am. From the cockpit, you go up, I don't want to come to the chaos in ground. So that is how it happened. And within 1 year, there are a lot of things, and I'm enjoying my journey.
Lovely. So beautiful. I want to touch upon certain leadership journeys of yours in this journey that you shared. You said that I completely resonate with you. Amazon leadership principles, what is beautiful is they are just not principles written in a tablet or a board or a website, but they are actually practiced. I think that is what made Amazon a very beautiful experience for me.
Yes.
And I come from a family, be it my husband or my dad or everybody used to preach these principles, and I was raised with them. And to really being seen, practiced as an organization where you can thrive
Yes.
was a beautiful journey.
Yeah.
And I'm
And you,
able to resonate when you said that you enjoyed your time there.
yes.
And so did I.
Yeah.
Um, at the same time, I want to understand that you came with these principles too. I mean, you didn't come and learn it there or see it there. You've seen much more, I would say, in your Air Force regime. And then coming and seeing a corporate world. When did you, or did you? I would love to understand that. Hey, there's no life at stake. This is just, just carrying KPIs and a project. Don't take it so seriously or don't sweat over too much because at Amazon, I have experienced it.
Yes.
The stakes are very high. It looks very high, but when compared to lives, it is nothing. Did you have a moment there to say that, hey guys, calm down, this can be handled?
I would not say that, this is actually, I see work in, uh, no work is small or big, right? The stakes are different. Yes, the consequences are different, right? when we say risk mitigation in air, it is about your passengers. If you get if you do something wrong, all of you are gone,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
When you come to ground, you say risk mitigation is about budgets, it's about whether the company branding is going well or not, all these things. But everyone has the same kind of pressure, I would say, right? The same kind of pressure, whether you are on ground or in air. We are trained for that, right? In air, to handle that pressure. For each and every sortie, I would say, even a 20-minute sortie, the pilots prepare on ground for 2 to 3 hours, right? So maybe in corporate you're not doing that, you are just continuing on a day to day basis, but pressures are real. But where these things come into play is, you because I come from the military and I've seen much more different consequences of these kind of pressure. I am at calm.
Mm.
Maybe I'm not saying that, okay, this is a small thing for you, and that is not the right way to say it. But yes, I can add my calm to that person. Let's say, let's do it in another way. That is how these things translates into the corporate,
Absolutely.
right?
Yes.
Maybe it is very different for me, but because I have seen the other side extremes of it, I am much calmer. I am much maybe I can house more things uh, which can benefit the organization.
So beautifully said. So even when we work on educating managers to grow into leaders, we say that bring that calmness in you, right? And for that, you need to train yourself to be in that state. And we also educate them how important that state is. And you coming from that Air Force space, you bring that calmness
Yes.
and you used it to influence, inspire, and be an effective leader.
Yes.
That's the key.
So Amazon was good, I would say. That's what I'm saying, that I was able to translate all my leadership qualities which came from military into the
Mm.
corporate.
You could put it
Because
to use.
yes, and I truly feel that every Amazonian can be a very good entrepreneur. The way we
Absolutely.
work,
Yes.
the way we work, right? So you just have to have that clarity that when you want to start that, you already have those qualities, because day to day Amazon kind of grinds you into that entrepreneurship, the startup culture.
When we started Amazon in India, we started the Amazon Development Center, and it was started by a seed team. And I was privileged and lucky to work with the team and build the human people strategy part of it. We spun off a lot of entrepreneurs,
Yeah,
and many
yeah,
of them whom you are witnessing now
yeah.
thriving, and I'm also one of them, I should say. So yes, they Amazon is a bit to foster leadership and
Yes, yes,
entrepreneurship.
yes.
We discussed that leadership is a neutralizer. So my next question to you would be, what is that feminine trait that you refuse to leave at the door when you sit in the leadership table as a commander?
I think not just one, there are many.
Mm.
Because when we think of females, they bring in a lot, much more than what is already existing in the workforce. Talking about one trade is empathy, I would say. Uh, it is far more than anyone can else have. I've been in the forces, I've been in the corporate, and now this journey. This is one trade which keeps you, uh, which kind of holds you back with the team. Everyone looks up to you that you will understand, right? It is not just they come up to you and say that I'm having this problem, or yeah. You Females are generally intuitive, right? even
Absolutely,
even in
yes.
the family, your energy is passed on to everyone. If the female of the house, or the mother of the house, I would say, is happy, you can see that energy in the husband, in
Mm.
in-laws, in
Everywhere,
children,
I should
everywhere,
say. Yeah.
right? So that is how we are different from, I would say, men, or that is something very unique we bring into the workforce, right? So this is one quality I never want to leave, because this gives me an extra edge of what already is present. that is how I would say that it adds on to the leadership. So this is one thing. The second I would say is flexibility. Females are very, very flexible, and they have that attitude like, let's do it, let's see.
The strength we have through intuition, the ability to hold everything together, be flexible. Um, we are okay if things change, plans change. But at the same time, I would also say that give a logic and the data to why we need to be
Yes, yes.
flexible. That I think that is important rather than coming with a command and control approach.
Yeah.
And how did you navigate that shift where women we are innately emotional, but in that when you're driving the being a pilot or being in the military or in the commercial,
Yes.
you had to let go of that fear, that emotion, and then be very quick and decisive. You said right. So when you're decisive, then you cannot be worried, fear. You cannot allow those to be creeping in.
Yes.
What was that in you that brought in that strength? How did you develop it?
Yes, this is a very interesting topic because um, the military training, it it kind of translates all your fears, all your insecurities into action. The training is all about that, and that is why you will hear a lot of military people saying that we reinvented ourselves in the training, and it actually happens, right? You have a fear of swimming. You don't know. You have a fear of jumping into the water, or you know that I have never done it. How will I do it? But they will take you to that point that that fear will become an action, and you will, without thinking, you will just swim and you will jump.
Ah,
They take you to that point, and then you will say, okay, yes, I reinvented.
ah,
And that is the same about insecurities also. So translating your negative traits, like fear, insecurity, all we talk about is negative trait. But how you translate your negative traits into positive action,
ah,
that is very interesting in military training, and that should always be there in the corporate training also, I
yeah,
would say.
yeah,
We are human. These
yes, we are.
traits, whatever positives we have, we also have negatives. But how to translate from one thing to another in a positive way, that is again a very, very training based module.
Yes.
And because military training is in a very controlled environment, so they push you to limits. There's no iota of doubt that you will not try, or you will have that, no, today I'm not well, I will not do it. No, they will push you to the point where you fall. They will take you to hospital. We have good doctors. They will treat you. You come back. You again stand at the same point, and you again do the same thing. So that is why the training thing is so inherited in all of us that it is said that the blues can go out of you, but you never come out of it. Your blood becomes blue. So
Even
it's
in
actually true.
leadership now, we are talking about how you can transform your reactive tendencies
Yes.
to creative
Yes.
competencies.
Yes.
I think that's
True.
exactly what is being,
True.
drilled down in military.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
Women, we navigate hormonal challenges, our menstrual cycles, and uh, our ups and downs in the month and years. How was that trained in military? I mean, do you believe that women should now take that break, that 3-day break is required, or should we just be the go-getters we need to be?
So what happens is I would like to answer it in two ways, right?
Hmm.
How I see it is a constant and a variable, right? If you are you are born as a female, uh, these cycles um, are a constant. Whether you like it or not like it, it will happen, right? And with these cycles goes in, your whole body, your hormones, your brain, everything, your working, everything is affected. There's no doubt about it. But what happens in military is you are pushed to extremes, and you forget that something is happening to me. There's no leeway. Nobody asks for leeway, and nobody gives you that leeway, right? I remember on the second and third day I ran cross country. Cross country is like 15 to 20 kilometers,
Wow.
right? So this is something extreme, I would say. I am not saying that everyone should do that, But because I have seen that, I understand that my body is capable of doing that, right? And I know that if I want to lie down the whole day and think, oh, I'm not well, then it becomes a disease. So, one is constant, and the second is how you respond to it.
Hmm.
So, the response is given by the military that we are not giving you any leeway,
Ah.
right? And once you don't have a leeway, you push yourself into something which is very performance oriented, right? So it is not like a I'm down, so I will not do this, I will not do that, I will not do that. No, you still have to perform. We flew critical missions during these days, right? Women, and I would also say that not just military women, I would include the sports person also. So we know a lot about our bodies, we understand our bodies much more than anyone else. And that is a training, the mindset training which we are given. Because I feel this whole biology of a woman needs to be understood, because we never talked about it. Our mother's generation, or our nani dadi's generation has suffered silently. This should not be the case, right? It should be, everyone should know that okay, this female is not feeling good today, or but we also should know how to handle ourselves, because now I see there are many women who take it to extremes, that I get aggressive during these days, and you have to deal with that. No, right?
No. Yeah, that's true.
That's another extreme,
Yeah.
right? Now you are taking your freedom, your what you have fought, not just you, your whole generation have fought for this freedom, and now you are saying that you are misutilizing your freedom. So understanding, yes. Acknowledgement, yes. Option, yes. But it should not be a standard practice to take 5 days a leave and just. And I would not suggest that you should take it. Just uh, you exercise your brain, do something.
Yeah.
It's not a disease.
Very true, right? Your diet matters, your physical fitness
Yes, take
matters,
care of
and your
yourself.
mental fitness also is
Yes,
a great important component here in how you deal with this. And go and personalize it to each individual body and
yes,
your condition.
yes. Even men nowadays are, I think, they are very open to it. If you are sincere all 25 days and 5 days you say ki I'm not feeling well, they're very okay, that's okay, take rest. But that trust has to be
Correct.
there.
And you need to use your prudence on 5
Yes,
days is
yes.
required or
True,
not,
true,
right?
true.
Oh, that brings me to the next question I have when we are talking about isolation from our 3-day period to you were isolated for 3 days during your analog astronaut,
More
right?
than that,
More than
yeah.
that. How was it to deal with Jayatari with no mission, no no audience, no like in a room 3 days? What did you understand and how did you deal with that?
So the fact of the matter is, humans in general, when they are kept into isolation, they behave very differently. Every one of us, we stay in a society, we always have people around, family around. So we have a face to show that okay, I'm like this, I behave like this. But the major concern is how you behave with yourself when only you and your mind is there,
Correct.
right? And it affects. So analog astronauts, when they're and it's not just 3 days, it goes up to 15 to 20 days, right? When the whole team, or a team of 2 to 3 people or 4 to 5 people are conducting experiments, and going through that schedule day after day, day after day, day after day. So the first day generally is like, oh, I'm happy. I have no mobile, I have no Insta, I have no TV, I have no one to bug from the family, I don't have to cook. You are very happy. The first day is good. Second day again, okay, I will eat these grams of protein. I will conduct this experiment. So the first few days goes very well. Then your mind starts playing with you.
Reality hits.
Reality hits. Okay, then your mind is like, I'm missing this, I'm missing that. This was good. It is not with me. You start missing your family members, your closed ones. Very very small thing which happened, and I still get those goosebumps when I hit that feeling. I started missing my daughter's voice.
Ah.
Mama, mama, every time she
Oh,
says no.
yeah.
And I was like, no, I want to hear that. And I was so much craving about that for 2 to 3 days. That feeling still, it gives me goosebumps. And for everyone, it is different. Somebody starts missing their mother, somebody starts missing their pet. These feelings comes out. And every day you have to do some surveys on the psychological part of it, how your brain is conducting your experiments, or what is your brain saying, how are you feeling today. Very, very normal things. And then it becomes very complex. How are you feeling today? You know, it's such a small thing to ask. How are you
Yeah.
feeling today? But you don't have any answer, right? So these are human factors.
When you
This
say you don't have an answer, was there a complexity of emotion involved there?
Yes,
Ah.
definitely. Because at the same time you're missing something. Your brain is saying that this is good, this is not. It is kind of, it's complex.
Yeah.
So when you fill that performer, and initial first few days, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling good, I'm feeling good. But the fourth or fifth day, you are feeling like, am I feeling good? See, that is what happens. This is how your brain plays you up,
Yeah.
right? So over the time, you start realizing that uh, life is on earth is so simple. It is so privileged that you are getting the morning sunshine. You are having all the people whom you love with you. And end of the day, when I came out, I was feeling so privileged that I am on earth. I have water, I have air, I have everything. I don't have to inhale oxygen. So analog is that kind of environment, and the same kind of things goes into when astronaut goes into space. The same kind of psychology, and they're trained for handling these kind of emotions, these kind of feelings, and
So would it be right to say that when you came out, the gratitude in you
yes,
just compounded? Yeah.
true.
And your LinkedIn motto says that less noise, more work, right? And now we are living in an era where the personal brand is, if you don't make the noise, then your identity is, lost, or you become invisible. What would your advice be? How would you use the power of that silence?
I would say personal branding without any substance is a red flag for me, because I see a lot of people, and nowadays it is a trend that you get famous first, and then do whatever you want. Right? It's a trend, and I don't deny it. It is working for many, right? It is working for many, that you get famous anyhow by reels or doing anything, and then everything comes to you because you are visible.
Yeah.
So that is one part of it, and that if it is working, it's good. But maybe for me, being visible is as important as what I'm doing. When we say, and my thinking process is like, I don't think on day to day basis. I work on day to day basis, but I think on years. So that's the vision I have, and that is something I look forward to, that my work should show in these many years. Like it should compound. So milestones, yes, day to day basis. Visibility with work. I want to combine both the things.
You were absolutely right. I think we were raised, at least I don't know about you, but I was raised in a time when it was told that your work has to speak. That needs to fetch your next step in your career or life. Now there is a shift that you have to make the noise, and yeah. And there is also one more saying: only the crying gets fed. Right?
Yes.
So I think we have to use a combination of these to survive now. However, there was a trend in the corporate where people were promoted just because they were making the noise. But now we are seeing that it's not a sustainable. You need to be at that 80%, 90% to earn that succession or a promotion. So I think your advice is very valuable. Okay. With that, you're ready for the next rapid fire.
Oh my God. Let's see. How I perform, I'm under
I'm-
extreme pressure now.
And you navigated very well. Come on. Okay. Mars or Earth for retirement?
I want to go to Mars and come back to Earth
And retire here?
and retire here.
The most Fauji habit you can't kick in civilian life.
Yeah. I think it's a hierarchy we follow. It's yes. So in I would say outside it's very open.
Okay.
But as soon as you see the 4G, the next 4G, you again say sir and ma'am in person.
Yeah.
But yes, outside we have managed to do that. Call by names.
The Himalayas from the cockpit or the stars from a simulator, which has a better view?
Himalayas from the cockpit.
Isn't it? Very right. One thing Amazon taught you that the Air Force couldn't.
I think the kick about anything is possible. How to scale up your ideas into a business, because that is very structured in Amazon, I would say.
What's more intimidating, a dangerous runway or a 3-year-old tantrum?
A 3-year-old.
That builds the pressure easily, right? A space snack you would sneak into your suit.
It could be mangoes.
I'm sure that's going to be very difficult though. If you could fly any world leader to a remote island and leave them there to think, who would it be?
Oh my God. I think there will be many. I want to revive the world and get more new leaders, I would say.
Yeah, you need a leadership shift.
Yes.
The most uncommander like thing you do when no one is watching.
I talk to myself as a friend. Hi, Jaya. Are you okay today?
Oh, that's so nice.
That is something nobody knows. That's a secret which I've been following since my childhood. I talk to myself a lot.
Describe the Shio effect in exactly 3 words.
I think the first thing is the risk taking capability. I think it comes from the cockpit or from the skies. I still do that on ground. It's quite high for me. The second, I would say, the empowerment of other people. And the third thing is, I would say, gratitude.
So beautiful. That's a great top 3 Shio effect. That's so beautiful. This is not a rapid fire. This is my last question to you. From a pilot to an investigator to the corporate to then to the analog astronaut, what is the next destination?
Oh, a lot of things are coming. I've been building on something, and my first book, which is Daughters of the Blue Sky, it will be launching soon. And all whatever I talked about leadership, about military leadership, about women in cockpits, everything will come in your hands. There's a lot to learn,
Amazing.
a lot to translate from the military leadership into the corporate or in your own lives. This will be an inspiration for every girl, whether she wants to be a pilot or not. Anyone who has dreams, unachievable dreams, which they think. Because I am also coming from the same tribe, which I never thought that I will do this, and I did it. So there's a lot to learn from that book.
Beautiful.
It is on the cards, and I'm very excited for it.
I'm excited too. And let's not call it unachievable dreams anymore. Every
Yes,
dream is achievable, is what
yes,
you're going to say. Yeah, beautiful.
yeah.
Thank you so much. This was a wonderful conversation, so much of learning. And I loved the way you translated it from military to corporate and then, make it into a leadership lesson. I'm so looking forward to the book. Thank you. I'm sure the audience will have a lot to take away from our conversation.
Definitely. Thank you for having me here and sharing all these thoughts. It gives me a lot of pleasure because I know it's going to. There are a lot of people who are going to see this and learn from it, as I learned from you today.
It's been mutual. Thank you.
Yes, yes.
It's amazing.
Thank you very
Thank
much.
you.